Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome. We're just going to wait a few minutes for attendees to arrive. While you are coming in, if you want to give me a little hey and write new if you haven't met me before, if you're new to me, and also let me know how long you've been working from home. Is this new? Has it been 5 months? Has it been years? And you're looking to expand from working from home. So yeah, just shoot me a text and let me know. Let's see. Hi guys, welcome. We're going to get started in a few minutes. And if you want to shoot me a message and just let me know how long you've been working from home and if we've met before. Great, we have a 7 months. That sounds right about COVID time. All right, so we're going to get started, and I imagine people will just kind of chime in. So let's begin. Oh, I see a familiar name there. Hi, welcome. If you want to let us know how long you've been working here from home, or if you're new. All right. So you are working from home. Welcome. Is it a dream that you wished? If not, let's make it. So I'm going to start off by introducing myself. My name is Melissa, and I am a health coach and a registered massage therapist. What is a health coach, you ask? Well, that's a very good question. I support busy professionals regain control of their health so that they can lose weight, manage their stress. I started in healthcare about 17 years ago, and I started in the supplement industry and outside sales. And then I moved on to registered massage therapy, and I've been doing that for over 15 years now, and I've been a health coach now for 2 years. So I've been working part-time from home for over 2 years. And part of the reason I decided to become a health coach is because I saw that so many people were suffering unnecessarily, meaning that most of what I was treating was preventable by different lifestyle choices. And I wasn't always healthy myself. My path to health wasn't easy or straightforward. And I'm in healthcare. So I know that there were so many others out there struggling through their own health journey. And I wanted to support people in this process. In today's world, there is a sea of information out there, and none of it is really specific to the individual. And there is lots of contradictory research. So for example, is coffee good or bad for you? There's so many papers, one supports it, one doesn't. So we usually pick the one that supports what we want to do. And if that's drinking coffee, you'll pick that research. I wanted to kind of take away some of that confusion for people. Most people become successful in their careers, but I find a lot of people still haven't learned the basics of their own body. How to eat properly, how to sleep properly, how much exercise, and managing their stress in this ever-growing stressful world that we are living in today. It is my personal mission to change this. So welcome, and that's who I am. But what I'm here to talk to you about is not myself. I want to talk to you about working from home and how to set up a healthy home office, or how to positively alter your already at home office. And like I said, I was already doing this before COVID, so you can learn from all my bad mistakes. Firstly, we're going to start with where. Where are you going to work? And I want you to take a moment to think about this because it may not be where you are currently working. Um, you want to basically create a space where you can focus and concentrate the best. Ideally, and if you are lucky, you have a spare room that you can use as a home office. But for the rest of us that don't have that luxury, maybe after waking up, you make your bed and you change your bedroom into an office. Or perhaps you find an alcove or corner somewhere in your condo, in your space. Um, Ideally, I ask that you not pick the kitchen. It's interesting how many people do work from the kitchen, but I find it's very distracting. There's a lot of clutter. You're also very close to the cupboards for snacking. And if you live with others, it seems to be a place where people frequent. So again, it can be really distracting. Make sure you have a clean and uncluttered workspace. If you already have a home office, spend some time this weekend getting it clean and organizing it. Okay, there's a good chance that you could spend some time doing that there. Having a clean and simple workspace really helps with focus and concentration. I recommend also to get in the habit of tidying your area when you're finished work. So that way, when you start in the morning, you have a clean slate to work from. Be sure to start out with everything you need as well, so that you've got your phone, your computer, tablet if you need it, paper, pens, water. And again, this helps you with focus so you don't have to start with something and then in the middle get up and do something else. The other thing I want you to think about is when are your, the next thing we're gonna start with is when. So what time are you going to start work? I know it can be really tempting now to wake up right before you start working, but give yourself plenty of time to set yourself up for the day. Look at the bright side. All the time you were spending before commuting, you can now use it to clear your head and get ready for your day ahead. And I want you to also think about what time you were finished. A really common mistake I'm seeing people make is letting their work drag onto the evening. And this isn't giving you much separation. It's intruding on your quality family time or your rest and relaxation. Try to keep a set finish time and not let your work continue to drag on. If you have to revisit your work in the evening or check emails, I recommend actually having a designated time. So let's say from 7 to 7:30, you're going to, stop your evening, you're going to check your emails, and then you're going to close your emails down for the rest of the evening. It's not efficient nor is it healthy to be looking at work emails all throughout the night. Well, you're not really answering them, but it's kind of drawing you back into work again. So again, you're not getting that break, but it's also not really efficient use of your time. And let your family members know, if you have them or if you have roommates, what your schedule is. I find a simple thing is people just kind of don't communicate in families, and they kind of assume that people are going to know and should therefore be quiet or not interrupt during these times. But I find really communicating those boundaries helpful for not only yourself, but your family members, so they know what to expect and what you're looking from them. The other thing to kind of signify is when you're walking is have a method that is going to signify your end of the day. So what I do is my favorite thing to do is just go for a walk, even if it's 10-15 minutes. It just kind of is getting out of the house and I'm finished. I'm thinking about letting my day go and I'm starting to think about my evening. Whereas before, if you were in the office, you would kind of have that shift, right? Where you're leaving the office and then you're getting ready to go home. So when you're working from home, it's really to start, you have those things kind of bleed together. So actually doing something to signify this is the end of my day. So I love the walk, but it doesn't have to be that. You could take a shower if you haven't already, dancing to your favorite song, put on some music. A workout is a really great way also to finish your day, some stretching. Something that, again, that's just going to help you shift from work to now I'm at home. And again, this will contribute to better quality time with those members in your family and better relaxation if you're by yourself. When are your breaks? I'm going to ask you set up some boundaries around time spent at the computer. making sure you're getting regular breaks to walk away and move around a bit. You might want to think about scheduling your lunch break and just don't eat when you're hungry. Eating away from your phone, desk, and computer. This is a really big one I work with on people. I'm finding that people are eating while working. And again, when I talk about efficient use of time, you're not really focusing on your work, but you're also not really focusing on what you're eating, how fast you're eating it, and when to stop. So eating really only takes about 5 to 10 minutes. So if you're taking that in your day for a break, it's not a big time ask, right? So getting the habit of putting your phone away, getting up from the computer if you can. And again, that's a little mental break from your computer and technology, and just having that 10, 15 minutes to focus on your eating and how much you're eating, and just giving yourself that time. And eating, like I said, is not only inefficient while you're working, but it is bad for digestion and it leads to overeating. So I'm sure you've heard the term rest and digest. And what that essentially means is that you're in a state of relaxation while you're digesting. So if you're thinking about work and you're on overload or you're stressed, there's a good likelihood of what you're eating isn't even going to be absorbed. And that's the whole purpose of our food, right, is to give us nutrition. So taking that time is so valuable for digesting, giving you that energy you need for the afternoon instead of that kind of sluggish afternoon lull that a lot of people feel. So the other thing I want you to think about is, when are you going to move? I like to set up something called movement snack breaks. And no, I'm not talking about eating here. I'm talking about movement breaks. Saving your movement until your workout at the end of the day is just not enough. Setting up your workspace to have some tools to create movement is a great reminder, such as a yoga mat, maybe a pull-up bar or a kettlebell. Functional movement and body weight totally works also. So I'm going to show you what I mean here, but I want you, if you guys are listening here, is to also show me your video. And that way we can do this together. And I'm just going to demonstrate an example, but there's lots of ways you can do this. So I'm going to ask that you all get up, and we're going to have a little movement snack right now. And you can just follow me here. So you see that I've got my yoga mat ready, I've got my roller, and just kind of seeing it there, like I said, is a good reminder when I'm getting up from my desk and thinking, oh yeah, I've got this thing to kind of help me do some movement. So the first thing that we're going to do is just kind of undulating the spine. So we're going to start with a little bit of what I like to call some cat-cow. And if those of you have done yoga, you kind of know that. So getting onto all fours, and you're basically going to start with some deep breaths. As you breathe in, you're going to curl the spine like a cat. And as you exhale, you're going to arch the back and looking up. So we're going to do 5 of these. Inhaling, exhaling, and again, exhaling all the way out, squeezing your abdomen to your spine. Inhaling and arching the back up. And again, one more time, inhaling. And you can make an audible exhaling. From this place, we're on all fours, so it's a great time to actually engage your core and the back body. A little bit of balance exercise here too. So what I like to do is lifting the opposite arm and leg, squeezing my glute to my back and my core. And then I'm gonna crunch it in, getting my core engaged. Putting that hand down, lifting up the opposite arm and opposite leg on the other side now, bringing that in, crunching it. I like to do 5 per side. So again, left, squeezing, bringing in, squeezing. Right arm, left leg up, squeezing in and down. Again, left leg, right leg up, squeezing in and down. Right leg, left leg up, squeezing in and down. And one more time on the other side at your own pace. Great. So from here, I'm gonna go into a plank. And for those of you that are comfortable, you can come into your forearms and onto your knees if you're just beginning, as a good place to start. And so your elbows are underneath your shoulders. You're bringing, again, your belly button towards your spine. And again, you're engaging through your back, so you're kind of puffing out your back. And if you're comfortable, you can come up onto your toes. So this is a great thing to hold. And you've heard of all sorts of plank offs. So you can start from 30 seconds to a minute and slowly increase your time. You can set a challenge for yourself if you want, trying to increase the time every day by 10 seconds. So now we've kind of got the core engaged, and now we're going to go to a more functional movement. So you might have heard of Turkish get-ups, which are great if you have an extra kettlebell, you can do those, but you can even do it without it at all. And it's a really great functional movement. As we're aging, a lot of people are struggling actually getting up from the floor. So why not practice that exact very thing? So you can start with both hands if you want, pushing yourself up, and then you can progress from one hand. So coming down, pushing yourself up the left hand, all the way up, and then alternating. Left arm up and down. So you can repeat that 4 or 5 times. And the other thing I like to do is, starting with a chair, if you have one beside you, is starting alternating legs up and down. So the left leg is going to come up and you're going to sit down onto your right leg, trying to make sure your knee is tracking over your toes. So again, this is a great functional movement about getting chair. It's also engaging your balance. And you can do alternating legs. And I like to do 5 each time. So this is a great thing to do, a movement snack, if you will. It's getting blood flow going, but it's also warming up our brain again. And I like to end it by getting the heart rate up for myself. So there's nothing like good old jumping jacks to do that, and they're kind of fun. So we're going to do 10. Great. So that is an example of a movement snack, much better than a food snack. And you can have these ones several times during the day and not feel guilty about that. And how are you all feeling if any of you participated with me? Let's see, any answers? I hope that was stimulating. So the idea is that, like I said, instead of snacking, we're moving, we're getting blood flow going, we're moving the body instead of just waiting till a workout to move the body, but it's also super helpful for stimulating your brain. So the other question now is, I'm going to ask, when are you going to do your workout? So you've got your movement snacks. So whether you are standing or sitting all day, your body needs more activity. One of the many benefits of working from home is that you can create your own schedule usually. Therefore, take the time to dial this in to make sure it really works for you. So for example, when I started, I was playing around with the timing a bit. Firstly, I began with my early morning workouts. And I like this because it just kind of really charged my day. But what I was noticing is that in the afternoon, I was starting to feel a little bit tired. And for me, my early morning hours of working are my really productive times. So I switched it a little bit. I moved my workout to 11 a.m. I would get my really productive work done first thing in the morning, have my workout at 11, have my lunch at 12, and then for the afternoon, I had this great boost of energy from my workout, and that kind of allowed me to go through my day. So that was my sweet spot. It's not going to be the same for everybody. So this is a great time to play around with it a little bit and really kind of find what time in the day would be the best time for you to work out, not only for your body, but for you mentally at work. Most people I work with don't take the time to discover this, and they're missing the benefits from working from home. So maybe you invest on yourself further, and you work with a group like Innovative Fitness. I love this group for personal training, And you could take full advantage of their training in studio or their virtual training. Working with a group like this really helps for accountability and reaching your fitness goals. In the beginning of the shift into this, home kind of living, most people I know were complaining that their at-home workouts were just not the same. Some used it as an excuse to work out not at all. We've all heard of the COVID 10, 15, 20. I'm going to use Innovative's motto here and say no excuses and don't make COVID one. Exercising supports your immune system. And if there was ever a time to focus on health, now is that time. Maybe you're right, it doesn't feel the same working from home, but you could be missing on what is good about the situation. When I took the time to think about this for myself, I thought about the time I was saving, not having to drive to my workout and park and then drive home. I thought about the benefit of scheduling my workouts to my personal best needs. Like I said, no longer did I have to wait for that class or that teacher. I could schedule my at-home workout for the time that I loved. And when I started thinking about these benefits, I stopped focusing on whether or not I was burning the same amount of calories. And this is key to keeping up my motivation. So take the time to dial in your schedule and think about the benefits. So how are we going to work? One of the biggest complaints everyone seems to be complaining about is how their back hurts from poor at-home setups. I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about, so let's fix that. Are you working on a laptop, on a coffee table, at the sofa? It's okay, this is you, but this is probably the worst setup, but is one of the most common ones, so you're not alone. This, however, can result in back pain very quickly. Can you instead create a stand-up desk using some old boxes or some books, for example? This is a much better setup for not only your body, but your skeletal systems. Sitting compresses into your organs all day. So this can often slow digestion. When you are sitting, you don't produce the same feel-good hormones like norepinephrine and serotonin. So research would show there's a larger link to people that sit for long periods with anxiety and depression. For men, it's decreasing testosterone. For women, it's producing more estrogen, which isn't great for either party. And the reason why wealthy gaming and tech companies have moved to stand-up desks is because they too have read the research, and I would like to think it's because they really care for their employees. However, research would show is that we're more productive when we're standing. So sitting down, slowing your brain. You probably have heard the term out there that sitting is the new smoking, and it's so true. Trust me, I saw this firsthand in my work as a massage therapist. I mostly treated injuries. I would say 80% of my clientele, the 20% could have been pregnancy, sports injury, motor vehicle accident, but the rest were all coming to see me because they were suffering from sitting. So that really tells you it's not nothing. This is no joke. Stand-up desks are becoming quite affordable. They start from around $200, and I think it's a really worthy investment. You might even be able to find one used cheaper on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. I am liking Wayfair currently for their fast delivery and they're pretty competitive pricing. So what I recommend is starting slowly. So do not go from, if you are already sitting 8 hours at home, to standing 8 hours. That is also going to be too much of a shock to your body. So I like to start with an hour in the morning and then an hour after lunch. And every 2 weeks, you're going to increase this by half an hour. So you're slowly going to build that up for your body. Sit if you need to take a break, that's okay. You can adjust it. They're usually, you can just up and down within 10 seconds, most of them. So I managed finally to convince my husband to do this. And he says it's much better to stand a lot and sit when you're tired rather than sitting a lot and standing when you're tired. The latter can quickly make you feel like you've aged 30 years. And I have yet to have a client say that they didn't notice an improvement and then didn't benefit from that. So cues for work posture are, so you can see these pictures here of the good and bad. So to the left is probably the more common one, and the one to the far right is also a kind of an exaggerated sit-up posture. And I find people look like that when they're trying to straighten up. It's an exaggerated straighten up. So we're going to, and again, if you want to share your video, I'm more than happy to go through your posture with you right now. So we're all going to do this. If you want to, please participate. And I'm going to first demonstrate the stand up desk because I've been encouraging you to do this. So we'll first start with the stand up posture. And it's not for different from the sit down, but we'll start there. So when you're standing, the most common fault I see is people tend to kind of load into their low back. We do this because we don't want to, we get a little bit lazy in our bodies. We don't want to engage those muscles, but we're loading into our low back and we're loading into our knees. So usually I also see what is a hyperextension of the knees and the hip kind of forward. And so there's a bit of a compression in the low back here. And center of gravity is sitting between my hand and here. So kind of when we push this forward, center of gravity gets pushed forward, we tend to kind of arch back. You can almost kind of see this in the exaggerated posture to the right of this woman kind of in this position here. So what we want to do is start playing around with our pelvis a little bit. So I'm going to scooch in a little bit further so you can see. So I'm getting my hands on the hips. We want to start rocking the pelvis back and forth. So let's exaggerate it by arching the back and then scooping the belly and lifting the pubic bone up. So we're just going to play around with this back and forth. And you want to think of the upper body still, and you're just hinging at the hips back and forth. And from here, you want to think about maybe a neutral position. Also, when I'm seeing people do this, sometimes they're really using their glutes to kind of get the pelvis to shift forward. I want you to let go and disengage of the glutes entirely. This should all feel like it's coming from the lower abdomen. So what does that feel like? Your belly button is pulling towards your spine, and you're using that to lift up your pubic bone. Another analogy I use, because it's pretty ridiculous, but people don't forget it this way, is imagine if a little baby was going to give you a little punch in the stomach. What would you do? And most people get it then right away. It's that slight bringing the belly button towards midline. If I said me was going to punch you in the stomach, you might flex really hard, and that's not very sustainable for a long time. And ideally, we want this working in a perfect world all day long. So again, it's just that slight contraction. From here, when I actually brought my pelvis forward, you can't see it, but the other thing that moves with it is the knees. So the knees aren't locked, they're in a slight bend, and that just happens when you shift the pelvis forward. But now you can feel you're in your muscular ligamentous system. Your low back will immediately feel supported in this posture. From here, you want to think about there's a hook in your tailbone, and there's a cord coming through, and somebody's got a rope right here, and they're pulling on it. So I like that visual. Instead of letting the back round, which would you see the woman in the posture on the far left, which will create a lot of tension through this kind of thoracic area, even into the neck, because the head really gets pushed forward. So you want to think about this engagement happening here and that lengthening through the spine. And to roll the shoulders, instead of, like I said, flexing through the rib cage, now this looks like I'm just sticking out my chest and I have a huge arch in my back. So we're going to keep this integrity through here. The spine's nice and long. And to reset the shoulders, we're going to roll them up, back, and down. So I want you to visualize that those shoulder blades are coming up, back, and down onto the rib cage. So it's almost like they're hugging the rib cage versus falling out from the rib cage. So one more time, let's lift the shoulders up, back, and down. Most people actually like that feel. It starts to feel good. So that would be the correct sitting posture. And you can see my ear is in line with my shoulder, in line with my hip, in line with my knee. It's all one line. When you're sitting, it's not so different, but you're sitting, so we can't tuck the pelvis. So in this position here, what we're going to do is we're going to not cross our legs. So for women, this is a bad habit that most of us are in. So you want to keep both your knees forward as much as possible. And from this position, we can't tuck the pelvis as much back and forth, but you can think about that little baby punching you in the stomach again, and bringing that belly button a little bit closer towards your spine. And again, it's just that slight engagement. You should be able to hold this for hours. You notice that I'm not using the back of my chair. When I see this, immediately I see people get into this posture here, which is not super great for your back, right? It really moves the head forward, and straining into the neck can cause a lot of headaches, eye disturbances, migraines. So from here, we want to start using our back to hold ourselves up. I don't even use the back of my chair at all. Actually, a stool or even an exercise ball would be totally okay to sit on. And from here, I'm envisioning that rope is lifting me up again through my spine. So I'm not crushing down into that low back, I'm lifting from that low back, and that stability I've created with my core. And again, I'm going to roll those shoulders up, back, and down. You are likely going to fall out of this over and over again. That's okay. We are work in progress. And sitting just really evokes slumping. So again, that's why I'm trying to get you to move to the stand-up desk. But if you are sitting, and even if you're standing, it's going to take you a while to kind of maybe come out of some old bad habits. And like I said, we don't really remind ourselves. So what I recommend doing is actually having a reminder. Either a little yellow Post-it note that says posture on your monitor, or perhaps you even get your alarm to go off every hour in the beginning and do a snack movement break or drink some water, and then also kind of realign your posture. And so you can see here, again, this is an example of an ergonomic workspace. So you can see that essentially the ear is kind of in line with the shoulder, in line with the hip. When you're setting up your chair to your monitor, you want to have that space where you can see so the head doesn't come forward. So if you have a laptop, you again are going to have to play around with this, often recommending getting a separate keyboard. And that way you're not having to reach with your arms and strain into the neck, and you can get your laptop at the right level for you to look at while using a separate keyboard and mouse. The same would be in this position, like I said, for standing, except that the knee would be right underneath the hip. And this person's using the chair as support, but can you see the chair is right up against the back? And again, I recommend actually using your back muscles, but you would want, in this case, this chair wouldn't work for me because there's too much floor space. And if I'm leaning back into it, I'm totally slouching. So you just want to be aware if you're using the back of your chair, it's actually right up at your back. But in a perfect world, like I said, you're not even using it. You're actually using your back muscles to support you because that's what they're there for. And again, you might go through that period where those muscles get a little bit sore if you're using them differently in the beginning, but as you continue, within a couple of weeks, you should start to feel a little bit stronger, and that should subside. And you can see this person's recommending take breaks every 25 minutes. And again, this is a bit individual. I like to take a break every hour, and then I take my movement breaks every 2 hours. So again, this is something you can play with a little bit. It doesn't have to be my rigid suggestion, but make sure that you're doing it and then just finding, like I said, that sweet spot for you, or each a little bit individual. Drink water. I know this sounds really basic, but 75% of people are dehydrated. And water helps carry oxygen to your cells, which results in properly functioning system. It also works in removing toxins from the body. So drinking more of it can help prevent toxins from building up and having a negative impact on your immune system. I like to keep a bottle at my desk. Again, what's visible, then you're more likely to do it. So just like my yoga mat here, I'm seeing it, I'm thinking about it. My water is right here. It's a good reminder. So I fill it first thing in the morning, and then I fill it again after lunch. And that way I know I'm for sure at least getting enough water throughout my workday. So the other thing you can do, so it's recommended for women to have 11 cups of water a day and men 15. But again, this can depend on your height, This can also depend on your weight. A better way to kind of really know for sure is to test your urine. And don't worry, you don't have to buy an expensive kit. I know this sounds disgusting, but just start to notice the color of your urine. Your urine should be actually almost a clear color or very light yellow color. If it's anything else, you know that you need to increase your water intake. So it's a really simple test to do. All right. The other thing that I thought we could go over is when taking breaks, is a little bit of desk stretching. So this can also be part of your movement snack. And I'm going to demonstrate 3 or 4 stretches that you can do from your desk. I recommend doing this at least once a day, ideally twice. So I know this is starting to sound like a lot of work, but trust me, you'll feel better for it. And once you start to get into the habit of these things, they start to feel less like work and you start to enjoy them, and it just feels like part of your day. So we're going to start with rolling the shoulders up, back, and down. So we reset the shoulders. From here, what we're going to do is I like to kind of lock my side of my neck that I'm stretching. I lock that hand underneath the chair. That way it's kind of pulling my shoulder down. And from here, I'm going to gently bring my opposite ear to the opposite shoulder. When I see people stretch the neck, I see people that are like really pulling and straining. Neck stretching should be very gentle, because you'll notice as I'm stretching, I'm really compressing into this side, and we don't want to cause issue on this side of the neck. So stretching is not like a workout. It's not about pushing yourself as hard as you can go. It's really about relaxing into the stretch. And it took me a long time to get that principle. So really just taking that ear to the shoulder, a nice gentle stretch, and a couple nice deep breaths. And you'll notice as I exhaled, my head actually went a little bit further. As you inhale, it takes up space in the body. As you exhale, space gets released and the muscle relaxes. So you kind of can follow that web and flow of inhaling and exhaling. So spending about 20-30 seconds to each side. Now the opposite side, I'm locking in my opposite arm to shoulder. And I can already feel the muscles starting to open up quite quickly. So this is your upper trap muscle. And for a lot of my clients, this is kind of where I find people like hold stress, so to speak. But if we're also really busy mentally and feeling stressed, we can be contracting these muscles without even thinking about it. So taking that time to relax them down is also a really great stress management tool, and using that deep breath to induce relaxation, also super great. So from here, we're going to stretch a muscle called Levator Scapula. And again, this is one that really elevates the shoulder. I find a lot of people can have like a tennis ball size knot in that shoulder. So bringing that shoulder down, and from here, you're going to turn the head. And it's kind of, I call it the armpit sniff test. Again, a silly way of remembering something, but you want to bring that chin down like you're trying to smell the opposing armpit. And from here, if you want, you can use a little bit of extra overpressure, but again, I'm being very gentle. So what you want to feel is a stretch down this portion of your neck right here, right into the shoulder blade. And again, I'm just focusing on that nice deep breath. And we're going to stretch the opposing side. So again, bringing your chin to the opposite shoulder, like you're trying to smell the armpit, locking your arm underneath the chair. Another way, if you're not using a chair and you're standing, you can kind of just do this with your hand, and it kind of pulls the shoulder down. So if you're standing and doing the stretching, it's totally possible to kind of anchor that down without using the chair as well. And so from here, again, shoulder, trying to smell the opposite armpit, and I'm just going to use a little bit of gentle overpressure. And it's not uncommon. You might feel one side's a little bit tighter than the other. Often if you're mousing on the right side, that can be I find a commonality that people are tighter on that side. So if that's the case, you might want to spend a little bit longer on the side that feels tighter. So spending a few extra breaths there and seeing if you can get that to release. The other muscle we're going to stretch is these ones here. Most people don't feel these here, but they're often getting shortened and tight from a lot of head forward. And all of us on our phone, we're all guilty of that a little bit. So to do that, we're going to kind of, again, ear to shoulder. Instead of looking down, we're going to look up and away. And you can see that stretching in the front of my neck. Holding that for 20 to 30 seconds. And I really like to hear an audible breath when you do this. Again, helping to relax the muscle, but also really great for stress reduction. And again, the other side, ear to shoulder, looking up and away. And if you want, these muscles kind of start underneath the clavicle. So you can anchor that down by using your hand just to kind of pull that tissue over the clavicle and then looking up and away. And there is one extra stretch we're going to do, and that is for the pec muscles. These attach onto the shoulder here. And most people are getting pulled forward and drawn into your keyboard. So even when we're standing, I still see this kind of rounded starting to happen in the shoulder. So we kind of want to counteract that. And also into the forearms, we're kind of closing that down. So I like to open that chain up and then just move over to my wall. So thumb up. It's going to be soft bend in my elbow. I'm keeping the shoulder locked down. I'm going to rotate away, and I feel a nice stretch in my arm, but I also feel that throughout my forearm and into my pec. And again, holding that for 30 seconds. And you can also play around with the arm a little bit higher and lower. The pec's actually a really big muscle, so a little bit higher is going to get more of the upper fibers of pec, and a little bit lower is going to get the lower and medium fibers of pec. And then from here, I'm just going to go on over to the other side. Again, thumb up on a wall. So think about hitchhiking and then getting your hand open and really stretching throughout that whole forearm into the pec muscle. And I'm also getting at this point to a little bit of rotation into the spine, which is really great for also the health of your spine and also for increasing energy. So now that we've done that, you should, again, feel a little bit warm in your body. You've given yourself a break and also stimulated your brain in a different way. Maybe you've got a little bit of blood flow to the brain. So again, this is super great for concentration. The other recommendation I have for you is to get ready. I know this is your chance to wear PJs all day, but trust me, this will affect your concentration and your motivation also. So I'm not suggesting that you suit up and put on a tie or do your hair really special. I'm just saying take a shower and get dressed. Really simple, but a great habit to get into. Now we're going to move into a little bit of what. So we all know we have to work, obviously, but what are we doing and how are we doing the what? So I don't know if any of you have heard about the 80-20 rule or tried it out, but in a nutshell, basically states that 80% of our outcomes come from 20% of our inputs. The 80-20 rule is you prioritize 20% of the factors that will produce the best results. A principle of the 80-20 rule is to identify your best assets and use them efficiently to create maximum value. So stick to a few priorities and keep them visible and so you can stay on task. The last thing I do when I finish my day is I get ready for my next day. And I don't mean like getting dressed, getting ready, but I think about what is basically going to come from my best 20% the next day. So I set my tasks and I make them visible. I do this in a recurring spreadsheet, but you can also do this in a Post-it note and then have it on your monitor. That way, when I start my next day, I'm not thinking about, oh, what do I have to get into? I already know I don't have to waste any time. It's all set out there for me. Who are you working with? You might be working with a company, but you could be working at home alone. And it's easy to maybe feel isolated in this situation and during this time when we have restrictions still. So I recommend arrange to visit with a friend or on a video call. Perhaps you are sick of being on video calls all day. That's totally a thing too, Zoom fatigue. In that case, try to arrange a physically distant visit that is safe, a walk with a friend, an outside visit in a space patio, driveway. I've seen lots of creative socializing out there, and it's a good time to get creative. All right. If you work at home with others, it may be important to set boundaries with family members. Some matters to discuss could be hours of work interruptions, noise levels. Again, don't automatically assume that people know what you need. Really take that time to communicate those things. If you are seeing the same people every day, it might be important to visit others. Like I said, by the video call or physically distant visits. If you are living with your partner and your children, can you make some time together to still feel special? Perhaps you could read a book together with your children, make a craft, or maybe you plan a date night, even though it is at home, a candlelit floor picnic perhaps, or take turns giving each other a massage. Take an online dance course, which I actually did, which was super fun, and dance the night away. These are challenging times and therefore can take some time to getting used to. Remember, instead of focusing on what you don't like, think about what you like from working at home. If you remember back to the days of when you worked from the office, I bet there are a few things that weren't ideal for you there. So it could have been inter-office politics, you could be working by somebody that you felt was annoying, the commute, the very fixed schedule, interruptions that happen at work, and those are just to name a few. So the point is that it's easy to look back with rose-colored lenses, and there is usually no perfect work situation. So thinking about what you like about working from home, just like what you like about at-home workouts, will help you with your motivation versus drawing always to what you don't like. And hopefully this information here today, if there's some things you don't like, it's giving you some information, some tools to help change that, okay? So start to work on a few of these aspects that aren't ideal for you. Try to change a few and go from there. It does take time to set some of these things up. However, it is time well spent and it will keep you sane, focused, and successful. If something doesn't work, keep working on it. Stop and take some time to adjust it, whether it's adjusting your mouse, the height of your chair, the hours you set out to work, etc. You now have the ability to make this environment suit you. That is a huge advantage. And I find a lot of people aren't really thinking about that. Therefore, they're not taking advantage of that. So really try and set that up for yourself. So I like this little reminder here of the door. I've actually got the suggestion from a client of mine who made a do not disturb sign for the door for his family. So I think this is great. Again, it's about communication and letting somebody know when they can come in, when they can't come in, if they had an important meeting, if they did not want to be disrupted. It's a great little tool, I think, to say not now and use that. So I thought that was a great one to share with you. So I'm sure some of you have some questions. So I'm going to open it up to anybody that has any questions. And feel free to ask away. And I'm just going to look on Facebook to see if anyone has any questions there. All right. So if not, you may not have a question now, or you may not want to ask it now in front of everybody, which is totally understandable. So you are more than welcome to reach out to me personally if you don't want to. I'm also offering listeners here a complimentary session with myself where we can kind of dive a little bit deeper and hash into your personal issues or goals with working from home in regards to being healthy from home. So I have cleared some time in my calendar, and if you are to book immediately, these times do go fast, so please do that. You can do it. I've left the link here on the screen, so to my calendar. You can also find me on my website, and there's a link on my website to my calendar as well. It's www.thewellway, the WELLWAY.ca. And yeah, I would look forward to supporting you further in this journey. It looks like we're here longer than any of us anticipated. And by the sounds of it, some people may continue to work at home. So like I said, now's this time to really dial it in and make it work for you. I want you, if you did not get that, I believe this is going to be put on the video as well. So the link to my calendar should be put to the video as well. It was a pleasure to speak with you all this evening. This has been a new journey for lots of us. So again, giving yourself a little bit of credit. This is a little bit new. It's been a stressful time, but now that we're kind of soaking into this, we have some time to make it a little bit better for ourselves. So I hope that you found tonight useful, and there's some tips that you can practice. I look forward to hearing from you and working with you further. And I look forward to hear about what's working for you from working at home. So you all have a very nice evening, and well wishes. Take care.